Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Boy, what an interesting week it has been for all of us, huh? I just wanted to say I have been feeling under the weather. I got hit by some weird cold, man, really knocked me out. But anyways, before that happened, I recorded a really good discussion with a good friend of mine, Stephan Piel, and we met each other first through a kind of a spiritual community. Ended up doing a lot of hosting for that community on a platform called Clubhouse. That's also where I first got introduced to my first guest for the show was on Clubhouse, and many other people that hopefully I will have on here soon. Anyways, it has been a very busy week. My goodness. Censorship continues. Canada in the mix, right? The one thing that I'd like to talk about is, what we have going on right now. Hold on a sec. Let me deal with this real quick. Oh yeah. So, anyways, we live in this time where, on the one hand, we have just endless resource of information at our fingertips on our phones more powerful than computers were when 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And yet at the same time, we're dealing with institutions and a government system in the West, particularly, although they would like to claim that, it's always somebody else, typical narcissist move, blame everyone else for the things that you're doing yourself. It has caused a real major narcissist problem in our Western culture, especially in places like the US, right? It has caused, right now, the way I see it is it's eating itself, right? The capitalistic agenda is closing in on itself. And really, we're seeing it happen with kind of everything, and who do we trust? How do we trust, right? How do we know what to believe? How do we know what not to believe? And really what it gets down to is it's not an information war. It's not a political war. It's not any of that stuff. What it really is we have lost our spiritual connection to ourselves. And now we're realizing that spiritual connection to each other. And even further, now we're starting to feel that spiritual connection we have with everything, not just each other and animals and plants and living things, but even to inanimate objects, right? Anything that has a vibration, anything that has an electrical current, whether we understand it or not, has some sort of that God particle, that essence of creation itself, which is really what we are. We are an embodiment of that, right? We are not separate. We are not separate from, I was accused of being practically called an evangelist, right? Just because I was saying, look, we do have a spiritual connection. And somebody's like, don't tell me, da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, you can make up your own, but here, think about this, right? See, we have been so abused by the ideas and the constructs of religion, primarily fundamental religion. And right now, we're seeing it play out firsthand in the Israel-Palestine situation, right? I'm not an anti-Semite, by any means at all. But I know the difference between Zionism, right, and Judaism, right? There's a difference, okay? Many of the Jewish faith feel the same way as me, okay? A lot more than you would tend to know about if you just followed mainstream media, right? Much more than if you were to just buy into the man. And I can't even stand it that being awakened or having woke is now being weaponized against us, right? Because here's the thing, to me, see, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what Stephan and I are talking about in this segment. Is, you know, we have lost such trust because now many of our conspiracy theories that we all that well I kind of, I don't know, I've had a good I don't know, I think I wouldn't call it luck, but many of the things now that we see as conspiracy fact, I was telling people that's exactly what it is a long time ago. Okay. And part of that is due to my upbringing. And here's the thing, is my upbringing still could have gone either way because many people are brought up in this country in very similar households. Okay. But we ultimately do have a choice within us. Right. And there's something to be said with, you know, some people start out with a different set of tools, right? A different way of looking at things, different little tiny little things that make things different, which is a very beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that we're any different either when it comes to being spiritual beings living in a limited human experience. That being said, it's very important now more than ever that we start to learn how to center ourselves. Because at the end of the day, what we have is not an information war. It is, well, it's involved for certain, right? Politics, it's not a political thing. Politics are involved for certain, right? It's not an economic thing, but economics are involved for certain. But what we really have going on here is really a spiritual attack on our own sovereignty as this creation that is one with all of you, everybody that's bothered to tune in here right now. As a matter of fact, I'm still learning how to do this. Let me see if anybody, I don't know if you guys are even, yeah, it looks like there I am. So if you're watching, please join the conversation, the chat. It looks like right now there's nobody watching, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. It's been a week. I didn't do anything last week. I was sick. But anyways, so let me get back on track. I have a tendency to get all over the place. So that being said, it's very important that we start to learn how to distinguish the difference between conspiracy fact, conspiracy fiction, what is a theory, what is, you know, and before we go jumping in all the way into a theory, are we going to let it be something that continues to drive a wedge into us? Because a lot of the stuff coming out right now, I truly believe is being done so only to fuel that divisiveness. Okay. And how do I know that? How do I come to that conclusion? Because of people's actions, right? When people who used to or in had a history of getting along and being able to have conversations all of a sudden are, getting aggressive and kind of blowing things out of proportion or reading into something, just because the plain fact is that we all make our decisions and our choices and our logic based on learned behavior, right? And if we've learned that same thing or witnessed that same thing over and over, well, there you go. Plus, not only that, being geared and engineered to be a narcissistic society, our first thing that's always happening underneath is fear. Okay, it's always that condition. And the first response you have to fear is anger. Matter of fact, I would say that I really want to get some psychiatrists on here, especially and psychologists that deal with narcissism, largely because that affected my entire life. It affected, but anyways, when we do that, like almost every time you're angry, what you really feel is fear. Okay. It's either triggering a fear response in your ego or your security or your relationships or your health or something like that. And as soon as that is threatened, your first response is you get that kind of fight or flight kind of thing, right? And that's where you start getting to that anger, and you want to tell somebody they're an idiot, or you want to, lash out and call them anti-Semite, or, God, it just goes on and on and on. So anyways, here's the recording. I'm going to let it play for a little bit. And yeah. It was really good. I'm going to try to break it up into 3 parts, but let me get over here to my screen and let me share the right one, and let's make sure everything works okay. Oh, and by the way, everything I do, this channel, okay, this is important, and I'm not very good at this yet. I'm getting there, okay? Let me go back over here. This channel, everything that I do, whether it's the podcast or Instagram or whatever, I am starting a business. I am also going to do a segment on that because it is not only very dear to my heart, it's something that we have to do as a species. It's something that we have to do as a planet. It's something that we have to do really as our first job here, our first purpose, which is as custodians for the planet. Why I say that is it's important. Even if you think climate change or any of this stuff is nonsense or whatever it is you want to talk about, man influenced weather change patterns and stuff, which, I'm with you on that. I'm not against you on that. But here's the thing. Man cannot create something that gets out of control if it's not already on that edge, right? Maui doesn't get how Maui got without certain things lending itself to that. Okay? Our climate is approaching, it's like this. If you take an enclosed environment that's locked up, right? It's sealed, and it's supporting its own life. It's got its own cycle of life going and stuff like that. And you drop a couple of cigarettes in there, lit, and you seal it up, things change. Okay? When you drop an entire pack in, things really change. They really change. Okay? So that's what we live on. And if you think that we're not having an impact, you are sorely mistaken. Yes, there is the truth to the fact that the climate changes over time. But beyond all of that, even if you want to say it's a hoax, whatever, the only way we're at this point with all this nonsense going on and not knowing what to believe and trust and not knowing up from down and being angry and confused and divided, our one soul connection is earth. It's our soil. And the extension of that is going to be our food. Everything that we put in to that food and that soil, we then ingest at a later time. Okay. Right now, we're ingesting a system of chemicals and tractors and pesticides and GMOs and microplastics and all of this crap. And it's affecting us here, and we don't even know it. And more importantly, it's affecting us here in our heart. See, the bottom line is this. The one mechanism that they cannot rein in, because it is the most powerful one, is love. Okay? And it's beyond them. The one that they can manipulate is fear and your emotional state. And if your emotional state is disconnected from earth, not grounded, we say in spiritual community, ground your energies, 2 feet on the ground. Go, you can even bury your feet in the ground for a good hour. Inflammation goes down, your heart rate steadies, body temperature relaxes, all of the functions return to normal, and you get to a state of calm. And when you're in a state of calm, you're in a state where you can process information better, right? Now, they have engineered it to where your attention span is like 3 seconds, and that's it. And I'm sorry, but that is no way to be a sentient being carrying out, even driving a car, if you only have 3 seconds of attention span, okay? That's where things start to get dangerous. That's where you get like, I mean, it's like walk into a room of 30 people trying to have a conversation with one, and all of those 30 people keep rotating and saying, hey, Jim, hey, John, hey, da, 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 da. And look at your breathing when that happens. Feel your heart rate as that happens. That's what's happening now, only it's with really heavy stuff. See, our greatest asset is not our information. Our greatest asset is our ability, our pure co-creation all of the time. And until now, we've been doing all the work for them. That's why I got motivated to do this, is because my soil business and my environmental business are much more than just sucking carbon out of the air and making healthy food again. It's about healing ourselves. It's about getting a paycheck, but also getting a paycheck for your heart, for your soul. It's about returning us to that connection that we all are missing right now. So, before I can start, all the links are in the description. There's the GoFundMe, there's my Venmo, there is my PayPal. Okay. I'm thinking about putting a crypto one in. I haven't decided. I'll have to make a burner wallet, because that is one of the things that I'm going to discuss, because, not only is our food spiritual, but money is actually spiritual. Abundance is spiritual. And we've got a blockage in the system right now, and it's causing major catastrophe. Okay. And it's not just causing catastrophe in rents and prices, it's causing catastrophe in our whole socio geopolitical, economic, everything. So, anyways, I love you guys. Let's give this a shot. And I apologize. I can get all over because to me, my whole thing is that everything is connected. Okay. Whether we understand that or not, it is. Okay. And I believe, actually, I know that we're coming to a point where more and more of us, I consider myself a light worker. I'm a healer. I'm a karma yogi. Soon to have my hypnosis certification and my karma yogi. So past life, Akashic records, all of that stuff. Even though I already know how to do it, it's good to have like that kind of piece of paper that says, look, I've done all of this. I've actually taken an exam. I know what I'm talking about, and I can teach. And I can, more importantly, I can bring this stuff all to a point where we can digest it and understand that it's time for us to change everything. All right, so let's play this. I think I can play this. There it is. Any sort of accountability for many of the things. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Skip that. Any sort of accountability for many of the things. It's always like, oh, Team Red did it. Oh, Team Blue did it. Some of that is very true, but at the bottom line, it's all the same. It's designed to keep us misinformed, angry with each other, stuck in fear of things that we do not know, constantly being bombarded by false information, especially regarding other countries and things like this. And the whole combination of it is causing this phenomenon where now all of a sudden, due to distrust in media, distrust in institutions that we've till the last 20 years, I'd say, we've lost our faith. Like a lot of times, we all know with COVID, right? I don't have to explain with that. But at the same time, we had this information about simply, things like wearing a mask. They tied it to our patriotism. They tied it to our freedom, right? And this is just really a human preservation issue, right? If I can prevent the spread of a disease by simply, or prevent myself from getting that disease by simply wearing a mask, well, then I'm going to do it. And it has nothing to do with, gee, am I tough, am I free, am I, do I believe in the country? It has nothing to do with that. And I always viewed this as a specific way, like something inside me told me that they're trying to push a vaccine, right? And this is really, really, really early on in the whole phenomenon. And I knew that this disease was probably tampered with and manufactured at some point, right? Because I've been involved in the political realm and current events for quite a while. So I knew that there was something off with the information. I knew a lot of it was off. The reason people for wearing a mask was simply to give the illness, the virus, enough legs to stand on, enough of a chance to spread and become even more than a problem than people even understood at that point, so they could say, oh my God, look, we need a vaccine, we have to put a vaccine out, and everybody's, and then people would sign on to it. Meanwhile, the death rate was skyrocketing, and sure enough, they rolled out. All right, let me fast forward this stuff. And then they tied it to our ability to travel. They did all these kinds of stuff to it. And if you were against it, oh my God, you're a basement driller, you're a whatever. You know what I mean? It's just more of the same. And now it's like if you talk to these, whether it's an Egyptian, Finn, Piel, and here we go. Stephan, I don't know if you could hear any of that, but welcome, welcome.
I could not, but I can hear you now. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I was just talking about how basically our conditioning, our programming, the media, all of it has led way to things like, whether it's we tie wearing a mask to somehow having anything to do with our freedom or patriotism or anything like this, and going from actually being a self-preservation and human issue, right, to all of a sudden being you're not a patriot anymore, you're not this or that, and the same thing is given way to things like the whole concept of like flat earth being like accepted by people. When we know that even if you look at whether it's an Egyptian or it is a Mayan or an Aztec pyramid or many even older artifacts that they have found, even back then they had a pretty good grip that our planet's round, right?
Yeah.
And yet here we are at the age where we can readily get information and scientific evidence to the contrary, and yet we have these people who, like, it's sad, it's kind of embarrassing, and I get it that science in itself is designed to prove itself wrong. But on this issue, I think we've abundantly proven over and over. And that's not to say that, hey, who knows, maybe the whole moon landing was staged. I don't know. But that doesn't mean I don't believe that our planet isn't a round object that we're on. You know what I mean?
We moved from the age of information, where, as you did say, like every you said. The point is to be able to test it. They think we're just parodying a broken education system. I made the mistake of pissing off.
So, like that right there, that is something that I realized that I was doing at one point. Um, like the whole, I want to say, like Sherlock Holmes syndrome. We're all looking for that. Aha! I got you now. I got you. This is what. This is it. I got the evidence. I'm gonna run home with it. Oh my God! I got it. And we just end up making ourselves kind of addicted to that, right? And then we get addicted to the argument, and then we get addicted to the confrontation and just the chaos, and it be this never-ending snowball effect, and it causes people to take sides, not have an open mind. Like, it's really important. Always remain teachable, okay? And that includes myself. Hey, maybe somebody will finally convince me that it's flat, but everything that I've seen so far is just not there, right? Now, there's other stuff that, like I said there, who knows? Maybe they did stage the moon landing. That has a political agenda behind it. I mean, I don't think they did, because from what I understand, at certain times you can look through a telescope and you can actually see the flag up on the moon. So
the flat earthers on Instagram and got a lot of colorful language in my inbox and directed at me about being sheeple and being asleep to this thing. But that's what's so laughable about flat Earth. Can't speak today. My apologies. Specifically about flat Earth is what's so laughable is that it actually is a falsifiable claim. You can do a test. They knew over 2,000 years ago. Eratosthenes figured out that the Earth was round and calculated the circumference of it accurately, just by doing the math between where the sun shone on two cities and then calculating the circumference. we're about to have an eclipse. I don't know if we're going to have a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, whatever one ends up coming. But unlike our practices, if you actually go outside and want to look at the eclipse, you'll see the reflection of the round Earth on the moon. Right. But as you said, some of them also believe the moon landing was fake. Some also believe I got a lot of space doesn't exist. Not to mention that it's just laughable because you can see very clearly the horizon line. You can see a mast of a ship when the rest of it has disappeared. You see the sun disappear every night. It's like the amount of effort that would have to go. It would be amazing if flat Earth was actually true and all the governments, the ice shed was hidden from us, and all the
Oops, my mic was. So something else from that interview and discussion with Graham was that, he makes a point, and this is one of the things that is so key for us to understand. Okay. If you're watching somebody who's like, oh, the Republicans, they're all bad, they're coming to get me, they're going to hurt, they just want they want to control your body, they want to control the border, they're out to get us, everything that they do is wrong, da 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 da, and they make no claim about the same being true, because really they're the same. I use the term DNC RNC Corporation. They are not two political parties. And here I am boldly going out to demonetize myself before I even get monetized. So, hey, those links in the description, please use them, because, I'm like, yeah. Anyways, as soon as you call out the whole thing, the whole capitalist agenda, the whole entire nothing changed under Biden. Every policy that Trump put into place, except for a couple of hot topic ones, they're still there. And some of them he's made even more brutal. Okay. So the idea that, this is important, because I see people like the other day I saw Democrats for Trump. And it's like, that really puts us in a place where we are the kid who is losing the Monopoly game. So what does he do? He gets up and he throws the game and ruins it for everybody, right? That is an emotional reaction to, rightfully, yeah, many of us are hurting and angry and confused and upset and sad, and we've had a lot of loss and geez, I'm borderline homeless right now, doing a YouTube channel, trying to start a massive, huge soil business, right? Some people say that's crazy. I tell them, what is really crazy is if I don't, because every time I was at a regular job. I tried it, and I worked for myself for 30 years. I never worked for anybody. I never needed anything until I got sick, right? Ever since that time, and I've had to work for other people, man, it is impossible to afford anything, you know, unless you already have, like, I don't have a college degree, right? Um, but anyways, my point is this: is like, it's time for us to, the argument of, well, I'll vote for third party next time because this time is too important. So I'm voting for Trump. That's got to go, man. It's time to stop doing exactly what the CIA and the corporate elites want you to do, and instead do everything you can to get either the Green Party or Claudia de la Cruz, or, well, no, let's not go with RFK because he's pro-Israel. So, or at least he's not. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I'm going to do that one later, but here, let's continue. You're just this or that, then And there really is only one agenda that benefits from divisiveness, and that is the Western capitalist hedge money, centralized economy, corporate friendly, my country, the US. They're the ones who benefit when they can cause infighting and separation. I meant Hamas. And to find that is where shadow work comes in handy. Because a lot of times that anger that you feel that happens here actually started back here. Okay. It actually started when your blood pressure started going up, when your heart rate started going up, when your temperature started raising, when your breathing started becoming faster. That's where that anger started. And in order to understand that, you have to really understand yourself. And in order to understand yourself, you have to do some work. You have to look at places where nobody ever told you you need to look. And it usually involves some writing, and it involves working with a mentor or somebody, a coach, somebody who has your undivided attention, who you can actually, if they call you on your shit, you don't get upset, right? Um, that's why a lot of us are becoming coaches and karma healers and all that stuff, is because we know that if you've got some skin in the game, right, you're going to probably be there because you want to be there, and you're probably going to do the work, period. And at the end of the day, it's about healing you guys. It's about healing ourselves. And yeah, let me continue this. All right. So I think with that, we will leave it there for today. And yeah, I put on the headphones because I realized, oh crap, last time I didn't have the headphones on. There was a major echo. So hopefully that doesn't happen on the replay. Maybe because I went live, that'll be different. But anyways, I love you guys. Please, if you can't donate, at least like, follow, subscribe. Let these videos play with the sound off. I don't care. Let the ads play, whatever it takes. Everything is designed for me to raise money for the soil and environment business. And I'm not going to give up on that. It is something that truly is my entire life purpose. It is something that is way bigger than myself. It's something that our planet definitely needs. And if you want to find out more information, I'm going to start doing some episodes on it. Because it's time for us to do different things. We all like to focus on the problem. It's easy. It's kind of hardwired into us. That's how we come up with solutions. The problem is right now is we're so lopsided with problem. And every 2 minutes we're hit with another one. We've got a society that is running out of bad guys. They can't create them fast enough. The other day, and this is something that I want to get into, it's like Rand Paul was practically wetting himself when that initial attack happened. I watched it on, I think it was on C-SPAN or one of those, and the first practically like 5 minutes into his little speech, he's like, well, it's clear that Iran had something to do with it. So people think that they were talking about Iran the other day. No. They are, it's just like they spin a wheel. Like, who are we going to go after this week? Who's going to be the bad guy to keep our people unbalanced, confused, upset, overwhelmed, stuck in survival mode, and emotionally triggered? And that's what they're going for. All right. I love you guys. Have a beautiful week. Like, follow, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification so that maybe I don't know. I haven't been looking at the chat, so I don't know if anybody ever showed up. But anyways, you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and well, I should be back on tomorrow and the next day as well. Got a lot of work to do. All right. Thank you.